All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 11:15 on July 16, 2025, and I'm Barbara Neal. As a reminder, the meeting's being recorded, and that recording will be posted to the task force webpage following the meeting. So we'll start with our usual roll call of task force members. If you could verbally acknowledge your presence when I call your name. Dan Batesy.
Here.
Paul White.
Here.
Ron Kumitz.
Here.
Jim Mack.
Here.
Morning. And that appears to be it for task force members this morning. Nope, there's Mike Dunges. Good morning, Mike. We were just calling the roll, so if you could acknowledge your presence, that'd be great.
You're talking to me? Mike Dunges. I'm here.
Yes.
Sorry. I came in and I didn't catch what you said. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yep. No, we just want to make sure you're accounted for, and you are. So also joining us today is Emily Mullaney as our administrative support, and our project management team, Rick and Dom from Televate. I see from Mission Critical, we have Phil Sisk. Good morning, Phil. Bonnie Maney, welcome. And anyone else from Mission? Oh, Scott Neal, go ahead.
Yes, good morning, everybody. David Galliano from MCP is also here, and Nick Falgiatori may be joining here also from here.
Okay.
Good morning.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Okay. We have one person on, oh, I'm sorry, two people on the call. One is logged in as observer, the other as unknown user. Observer, would you like to identify yourself? You're not required to, but it's helpful. If you're speaking, we're not hearing you. Okay, moving on then to the unknown user. Would you care to identify yourself? Okay, we will move on then to approval of the agenda. So the agenda was distributed to task force members by email. It's also available on the webpage. Do task force members have any changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing nothing, we'll consider the agenda approved and move on to approval of the minutes. These would be the minutes from the July 2nd regular meeting number 54. Any changes needed to these minutes?
I have one very minor thing. There's a spot on page 3, I guess it would be, where I'm identified as co-chair rather than vice chair, which is an easy mistake to make since we have so many chairs. But other than that, if there is nothing else, I would move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Okay, is there a second? Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, the minutes then, well, let's vote. I'm sorry. Are all in favor of approving the minutes as amended by Paul? Raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Jim Mack, I don't see your vote.
Yep.
Okay. All right, fine. The minutes are approved as discussed. Emily, hoping that you caught that so you can make that correction. Okay. Let's move on then to project updates, and I'll hand it over to Dom.
Thank you, Barb, and good morning, everyone. As most of you know, our activities over the last couple of weeks have focused on the working groups that are looking in detail into the various sections of the system planning report. We kicked off the Tier 3 regionalization working group on the 7th of July, and we have subsequently had a second meeting that occurred Monday the 14th. So we are moving forward fairly well in that working group. We have a number of action items that we are tracking and working, and we have meetings scheduled for the next couple of Mondays, the 21st and also the 28th. Also, the governance working group kicked off on July 9th, last Wednesday. I believe my status report may have been incorrect and it said July 7th also for that, but it's actually the 9th. We had our first meeting and we got a good start on the governance issue. And we identified a number of action items there as well, which we are currently working. We have the next meeting for governance scheduled. That's a bit out in the schedule. We're on that's scheduled for August 6th. We had to push it out a bit to make sure we had everyone's availability. So there's quite a bit of time in between those meetings. We are working, Televate is working in the background on the action items and doing as much advanced work and advanced planning as we can to help make those meetings go quicker and smoothly. We anticipate scheduling more meetings. Hopefully at that next meeting, we'll be able to schedule subsequent meetings to move forward. The other working group that we are currently scheduled to take place is the Tier 2 working group. And that's focused on the technology aspects of regionalization. The initial meeting is scheduled for this Friday, the 18th, and then we hope to have subsequent meetings planned during that meeting as well. I do have, I should have been showing this, I'm sorry, when I'm speaking, but this is our current schedule with the meeting, the working group meeting. So those three you'll see that are taking place in July. The governance, the Tier 2 and Tier 3 meetings are what we are currently following. The Tier 1 meeting is scheduled, or Tier 1 group, I'm sorry, is scheduled to start meeting in mid-August. So we are moving forward. The scheduling has been a little bit difficult, but we're doing the best we can. And as I mentioned, doing as much work in between meetings to prepare and address action items, and also to have discussion with outside experts as well. Like we identified some in our Tier 3 meeting this week that we'll be reaching out to get some additional perspective. So that's been our primary activity, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Dom? I have one. Can you refresh my memory who's on that Tier 2 working group technology?
Yes, the Tier 2 working group is Ron, Jim, and Michael Wright.
Okay. Okay, so Jim or Ron, I'll be reaching out to one of you because these meetings are essentially subcommittee meetings of the task force. We need to open them up like we do a regular meeting, call the meeting to order. And then Dom will take everybody through the agenda essentially, but I can send you the script for getting those meetings open and then closing them at the end. So I'll pick one of your names out of a hat and send it along.
Well, Barb, one other item I would like to point out is that MCP has been assisting with action items that we have received to get, for example, to research and get additional information from the inventory report or some other information from the system planning report. MCP has been supporting that as we go along. Excellent.
Okay, great. Okay, anything from Mission Critical on project updates? No, not today. All right,
No,
then Dane, go
Dom
ahead, Bonnie.
covered it. No, Dom covered it.
Okay, great. Okay. Moving on then to the draft LMR recommendation. Dan, can I hand this off to you?
You can. Thanks, Barb. Good morning, everybody. earlier last week, I submitted what was essentially just a touched up draft of our recommendation for the development of a VHF network project out of the ongoing project that DPS has in terms of upgrading our network. We've talked about this a couple times before. I'm happy to entertain questions. But what I'm hoping that we can do today is get to a place where this committee either endorses it or doesn't endorse it. Now, just to be clear, I'm not looking for any money at this point, and I'm not looking for any guarantees that this will be part of the bigger project. What I am looking for, however, is, well, let me back up just a step to say that if we're going to take on this project, we have to begin the elements of it with the rest of the build up to the project that we are doing. In other words, to add the elements of the VHF network, we have to put those in to our original RFPs and the bids that will go out and all the different parts and pieces of it. The plan would be, if this is seen favorably by this committee, we will add those elements. We will change our planning in terms of the development work that we're doing on our network to incorporate that VHF network. And then, if and when the finished project comes out of this committee, that is the actual recommendations, that will be the time in which, if this is a piece of your actual recommendation, we will then ask for the money to finish it. We've incorporated a best estimate in terms of the money that it would take. We think it's probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $3 million to do that project. However, a lot will depend upon how this breaks. We're fairly comfortable, however, saying that that is a very liberal estimate. That is, we think it's going to be less than that. But we wanted to overshoot, not undershoot when we gave you a sense of it. However, like I said, we're not looking for any money at this point. We're just saying, if you think this is something that is reasonably likely to be included in recommendations out of this task force, when we report back to the legislature, we need to begin planning it as we plan our network upgrades. So, with that preamble, I should probably first ask, does anyone have any questions in terms of what our intentions are, or questions regarding the overall project? Okay,
Sounds like
hearing
no
none.
questions.
So again, I think what we would need then, oh, I'm sorry, Dominic, go ahead. Dominic, you're
You're
muted.
muted, Dom.
Thanks, Dan. I would like to point out that Televate has had several discussions actually with Dan and Corey regarding this. We are in support of the concept. We think it makes sense, and we think it can, you can take advantage of the synergies of these two networks. We would like to point out that as currently as the concept for the VHF network is proposed, it shows simulcast cells, or recommends simulcast cells along the VSP barracks boundaries, similar, of course, to how the UHF system would be developed. We would like to point out that even using the same communication sites as VSP network, those cells can be arranged in a county cell approach, if that were the preferred approach. Televate has actually looked at that and has developed the recommendations as to which sites would be applicable in each county cell, and we believe that is very feasible if that is a preferred approach for VHF, due to the fact that it'll be supporting fire and EMS activities.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Than Thanks, Dom. The other piece that came out of our conversations with Televate, well, two things. The first is we do this as a scalable project. I think it makes sense to present to you the project in its total, simply because I think that is the only way to give you the depth and breadth viewpoint of the totality of the project. But we don't have to do every single barracks region. We don't have to do every single tower. We could scale it back as your recommendations take shape. The second piece here is, and if you read the draft that I've submitted to you, we took some editing effort to make sure that people hear that this is not intending to be a network that is foisted upon anyone. There would be no requirement that anyone use this network unless there's something that's drastically different coming out of your recommendations later on. This would be available to those who choose to use it and theoretically not impact those who decide not to. It is not designed to significantly enhance the capabilities, right? I mean, we're not building significant network improvements, but what we are doing is building infrastructure that could be taken advantage of. So that is an organization or a group of organizations could utilize that infrastructure as opposed to creating their own infrastructure or maintaining their own infrastructure. And then finally, the only other piece that we added in with the edits to the draft was to just say that when we envision this, we're attaching it to the updated Department of Public Safety network, but we are wide open to having conversations about governance and about how this would be appropriately administered in the context of the larger task force project. So that's up in the air. We are not saying that we need to run this and hold this forever. There's much more conversation to be had there. I see that Scott has his hand up.
Excuse me. Yeah, thanks. I just kind of wanted to reiterate what Dom had said. You know, we think this is a good approach for the state to take. It's not perfect, but I think from a practical matter, it's really a good approach that you can take to see improvements over your current environment. And as you mentioned, it is very scalable. It could continue to be built out, years down the road to continue to make improvements. But I think, as your proposal pointed out also, the big challenge you need to get out of the way right away is finding appropriate channels. You have a lot of challenges up there in VHF in Vermont, from terrain to Canada and other issues. And chances are, whatever suitable channels you find, when you talk about governments, are probably going to be already licensed to somebody else. So you'd have to work out, that use. But assuming you can find those channels, I think it's, we think it's a very, very good approach.
Yeah, and we're not making any promises on that front. We recognize that that is going to be a significant challenge. I think as organizations, well, how about this? Our vision is, as organizations or groups of organizations opt into this, we think there's a way to leverage their frequencies as they join us. However, again, just to be clear, we're not taking any frequencies from anybody or mandating it. This would be an opt-in process. So, but yeah, you're right. If we decide to go in this direction, that is going to be one of the first challenges that we're going to have to overcome.
Dan, can you just restate what the timeline is for this? I missed that.
Well, so we are in the process right now of designing the project overview for the DPS network upgrades. So again, if you're playing along at home, we are planning on doing some upgrades to our network. The work that we're talking about with this VHF network would be piggybacked on top of that work. So our project design is ongoing right now, which means that we are creating draft RFPs and, the designing the overall scope of the project. The next piece, with your approval, if you approve, would be to add this project on top of the ongoing design work for the original project. So that's, give that another few weeks to get worked out. And then at that point, we'll begin the process of going through all the different RFPs and various things that have to happen with a project of this scale. We think that we probably won't be looking to spend any money on this, but that is, I would be shocked if we were spending any money before summer of next year. So summer of 26 would be the time. And that relatively coincides with the work of this project, of this task force. So it would be our intent and we'll absorb the cost and the build out of designing the bids and all that. But it will be our intent that to readdress this with the final task force recommendation. So if this becomes a final task force recommendation or part of a broader task force recommendation, then it will be time for us to come back and say, hey, this is how much this thing's going to cost. And of course, that would be part of whatever resources we're going to apply to a statewide system.
Thank
Does that
you.
answer your question, Barb?
Yes, yes, it does. I was thinking about getting access to the money if the task force, decides this is a good direction to go, and making sure there was time and the authority to do that. I need to, and I should have done this before now, go back into the legislation and see exactly what we're allowed to do with those funds. And if we had to go through some sort of legislative approval process, it sounds like there is plenty of time. So,
Yeah. And to
Okay.
be clear, we're not asking for that money now. The only
Yes.
time we would be asking for that money is if this project is part of the broader task force recommendations. And if that's the case, then you're going to have to figure out how you're going to spend whatever money you have in a number of different lanes. The only reason we're coming to you now is we cannot do it unless we plan the project in the stage that we're at now. So that's the time sensitivity to this. So if we're going to do it, we got to plan it now, and then we can come back and readdress it when the task force recommendations go out.
Okay. Any other questions for Dan? So Dan, what is it you need from the
Yeah.
task force now? And then we'll ask if they're ready to
Yeah.
make that decision.
I would say, ideally, I would love it if someone would make a motion to approve of the design work for this. And again, all we're asking for is your endorsement that it's a good idea. And again, we'll readdress whether it actually goes into effect, whether it's part of the broader planning later on. But I think ideally today, if I could have an endorsement going forward, that would trigger us to be able to do the work of design and, incorporate this into the bids that we're doing for the other work.
Okay. Paul?
I just have a question about that. Since this was warned only as a project update from DPS, it wasn't warned as an action item for the task force to take any action on it. Can we offer that endorsement today, or do we need to put it on the next agenda?
I guess I don't know the answer to that. Would it need to be a separate action item on the agenda?
I mean, in municipal government, I know if you're planning to take an action, it normally is warned on the
Okay.
agenda and it's an action item.
I think that's
Okay.
fine then, Paul. I think we can table this until the next meeting and just know that we'll come back and ask for that action if that's the case. There's nothing that's burning
Right.
a hole.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, doing like a straw poll of the task force members to get.
I don't think that's even
the-
necessary. I
Okay.
think if we need to warn this more appropriately, we can, I'll just ask Emily, can we please put that on next week's agenda as an action item going forward? That's fine.
Okay, we got the thumbs up from Emily. So, okay, good. And sorry, I did not catch that with this week's
Yeah, and I didn't
agenda.
ask for it either.
And Dan, just to be clear, the next meeting will be 2 weeks from now. So is that still okay with your?
That's fine.
Okay, okay. Okay, I think that makes sense. It'll give people a little bit more time to digest things and maybe see if there's any other questions, but we should all come ready on July 30th with an opinion on where to go with this. Okay. Anything else
Hey,
on
Barb,
project?
Barb,
Yes.
may I make a comment? I don't
Yes,
know if it's
great.
appropriate, but if the task force needs to elevate to provide some additional insight, have questions, we'll be happy to do that as well. We've worked with Dan and his team and know this proposal well, and have we've assessed it and we've actually done some homework on it. So if the task force needs additional insight, we'll be happy to provide that.
Okay, that's great. Is there anything right now that task force members would like to ask of Televate related to this? I'm comfortable with the fact that you've reviewed it and been in conversation with Dan and Corey and are supportive of it. Anybody else feel differently or? Okay.
I don't feel differently. I think between Televate's endorsement and Scott's endorsement, and I've spoken with Corey, had a pretty lengthy conversation with Corey a couple of weeks ago, and had all of my questions answered. So when we do vote, I will vote in favor of it. I don't. This isn't the end all. Like Dan said, this isn't the end all of the task force's work. But I think it would be foolish, since all this work is going to be done on the UHF side. It doesn't make sense to not take advantage of this opportunity to deploy the VHF infrastructure at the same time.
Okay. Great, sounds good. Okay. If we're done with this discussion, the next agenda item is executive session if needed, not needed today. So we'll move on to new business. Is there any new business for today? Okay. Hearing none, we will go to public comment. So is there anyone on the line that would like to add a public comment today? If you could raise your hand, that would be helpful. Or if you're not able, go ahead and unmute and we'll sort it out. Okay. I am seeing no indication of public comment today. So next agenda item is to confirm the next meeting date, which is on the books for July 30th. And if there's nothing else for today, we could hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved. I will second that.
Perfect. Okay. All in favor of adjourning for today, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
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 The
Aye.
hands are up, the ayes are in. Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks or maybe sooner if you're part of those working groups that have meetings coming up. Have a great day. Stay cool.
You too.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
y'all. Bye now.